All right, hello there. This is Jen Kitzmiller at the National Weather Service in Missoula, and I have your weather planning briefing from September 24th, 2020. So a few things we're watching for here coming up over the next several days. We are under a pretty cool, breezy pattern, and the main thing with that is going to be the potential for breezy westerly winds, really continuing all the way through Saturday. And in particular, southwest Montana is going to remain the driest during this period, so they'll have a little bit more of some elevated fire weather concerns just due to that combination of dry and breezy conditions. There is going to be another round of wetting rains coming in Friday into Saturday, so I'll give you a little bit more of an update on that. And then we are looking at a warming and drying trend coming in early next week. So here's a look at the current satellite imagery. We did have high pressure over us a few days ago. That's pushed off well into eastern Montana, and that's left us under the influence of more troughiness and actually really just more westerly flow aloft across all of the Pacific Northwest. We had a cold front come through the region here this morning, and that has produced some rainfall, particularly through north central Idaho and northwest Montana. And then we are going to have another push come through Friday into Saturday. So that's kind of a couple of features that we will be tracking moving forward. So here's a look at what the overall weather pattern is going to look like into this weekend. Those blue and purple colors are representing areas in the atmosphere where the heights of pressure are lower than you would typically expect this time of year. And basically that's just showing that we're under a little bit cooler and more westerly flow than we would normally expect. It looks like a very fall-like pattern that we're under. And so with a pattern like this, we will continue to see cooler temperatures. In fact, even a little bit below normal for this time of year. Breezy conditions, especially on ridge tops, but even mixing down into the valleys in the afternoons or with frontal passages. Higher RHs, with the exception being across southwest Montana where there's a little bit drier air in place, and then wetting rains for Friday into Saturday. So some of the details with that, Friday looks like a pretty breezy day. The graphic on the left here is showing potential wind gusts, and you'll see the strongest winds are expected generally across southwest Montana, particularly for the Beaverhead Deer Lodge, and then also all along the terrain of the Continental Divide, where we could see gusts easily into the 40-mile-per-hour range, possibly a little stronger than that. For areas in the rest of western Montana and central Idaho, we'll be looking at gusts in the 20 to 30 mile per hour range. Luckily, and you can see this on the graphic here to the right, this is relative humidities, the minimum relative humidities for Friday. And luckily those humidities are going to be pretty elevated for most of the area, so it's not overall a big fire weather concern, although I will point out, as I mentioned earlier, on the Beaverhead Deer Lodge, it will remain relatively dry. We'll be looking at RHs in the mid 20 to 30% range. So could see a little bit more of a concern with the wind and the lower RHs in those areas, but otherwise it looks like it will be relatively moist. Here's a look at 24-hour precipitation probabilities, and this is for that next push that's going to be coming in basically from Friday into Saturday morning. The graphic on the left is showing the probability of any location getting 1/10 of an inch, so wetting rain or greater. And you'll see really most of the area here, north central Idaho, northwest Montana, are showing the best signature of with nearly 90 to 100% chance of seeing a wetting rain, with your probabilities getting higher closer to the Montana-Idaho border and then into central Idaho here. But probabilities do drop off pretty quickly as you move to the south and east, and by the time you get down into the Beaverhead Deer Lodge, the probabilities of a wetting rain are relatively low. The graphic to the right, just to give you an indication of some of the potential, shows the probability of seeing 1/4 of an inch or more. And again, those areas, basically the mountainous terrain right along the Idaho-Montana border here, stands a pretty decent 70 to 80% chance of seeing at least 1/4 of an inch of rain. So there is a lot of moisture coming in with this system. But again, as you move south and east, those probabilities drop off pretty quickly. So that's just to kind of give you a feel for how much rain and precipitation we might see out of this. Another thing to keep in mind is that with the relative cool nature of this system, snow levels will be coming down to about 7,000 feet. So the higher terrain across west central and northwest Montana could see a light dusting of some snow and into north central Idaho as well by Friday into Saturday. Now looking at next week, it does look like we'll be in for a bit of a pattern change. The cool, breezy pattern really continues into Saturday, and then beginning Sunday and especially Monday and beyond, we'll have this area of high pressure that starts to build in. Initially, it looks like the main area of high pressure is going to be forming along the west coast, so that will place us here under a dry northwest flow. And in a lot of ways, that's fortunate. That will likely keep a lot of the smoke from entrenching back into the area, at least through the first part of the week. As we get into the latter half of the week and the ridge moves a little further eastward, we may see a little bit more smoke enter into the equation. But overall, this is going to lead to pretty pleasant conditions, warming and drying, generally sunny skies, cool mornings, maybe some fog in the mornings, but otherwise a pretty nice week ahead. So here's that 6 to 10 day outlook. You can see the chance of precipitation is actually below normal, largely due to that ridge of high pressure I showed you. So once we get through this Friday into Saturday system, there's no real signature of any other precipitation events here going out into the longer range period. And as far as temperatures go, again matching that ridge of high pressure, there's pretty high likelihood of above normal temperatures. We're not looking at extreme heat, but it'll be above normal for this time of year. Finally, wrapping up with our weather threat matrix, we have some highlights for Friday and Saturday due to the combination of the wind and some possible high elevation snow, and then of course those drier conditions that I mentioned across southwest Montana. Otherwise, it looks like a pretty quiet week going into next week. That's all I have for you today. Of course, if you have any questions or concerns, you can feel free to contact us at any time by phone. And otherwise, we will do our next briefing on Sunday. So I hope you have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you soon.